morning, everybody that's watching. I hope you're having a lovely week so far. Today, we are going to be talking about finding peace, because we all need a bit of peace. I needed some peace this morning. Let me just put this on a bit more. That's better. I needed peace this morning. I'll tell you in a bit. I'll tell you in a minute. But today, we've got another episode 5 on our podcast is coming out, which is vulnerability. It's an amazing. We've got lots of techniques in that. Kate, you do an incredible one, and Susie takes us through a guided technique as well. So if you're not following our podcast, please go to realtherapypodcast.com/follow and follow us and take a little listen to all of our episodes. They're really, really good, even though I say so myself. But I'm flipping surrounded by absolutely amazing wisdom all the time. So I'm so grateful. And to get it into this format, it means that you can just listen to it in the car, on the go. So yeah, go to realtherapy.com/follow. And today is vulnerability. And I'll post the link later on anyway. So today, we were talking about finding peace, because I think we got it from our last talk, didn't we? Our last talk, we came up with peace, because that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? Finding peace, love, happiness, just being at one with yourself and the universe, being a bit calm. And and we all go through things in life that are not peaceful. They're not peaceful. They're just not. And sometimes you just sit there and okay, I'm going to talk about myself for a second, because that's the only thing I can talk about is relating it back to me. So throughout my life, I've had different experiences where I've felt very unpeaceful. And when I say unpeaceful, I feel it as a frustration in my gut. I feel it in my energy levels are depleted. I feel it in, I give out an air of, it's an anxiety. It's, there are so many things when you're not at peace. And I have found throughout my life that by changing my perspective and changing the thing that I'm not at peace with, and sometimes change can be very hard, but then it's a choice. So, I wrote down, because change makes courage. Change, you have to have courage. And courage leads to peace. So, for me. So, throughout my time, I've had many experiences where I felt challenged and anxious and frustrated and definitely not at peace. And it's normally because I'm not following my authentic self, who I really am, and I'm listening to everybody else all around me, trying to be the good person and doing what everyone says, and ignoring my own inner self, my own inner voice. and the more I'm doing that, the more I'm on edge, and the more I don't feel peaceful, and until I get to the point where I just can't do it anymore, and I just have to say it. Now, I'm a lot better now at saying it, although it does come out in a bit of a blurt nowadays because I don't hold it in anymore. I just don't hold it in. And whereas before, I think it stemmed from, a lot of my stuff is stemmed from not being heard. It's a weird thing, because obviously I do what I do, and I'm the singer and the speaker and all of this, and it's all to do with being heard and getting my message out there. So throughout my life, I've kind of gone that route to try and be heard, but it stemmed from very much earlier. Now, today, I needed some inner peace, because it's a challenging time at the moment, because Ethan's going to secondary school in September. And so, because of the weird times that we're going in as well, I'm really looking forward to him going to secondary school, so's he. And it's a really good school we've got. And it's challenging times. So you don't know if it's online when you're doing these meetups or timings or whatever. And I got sent an email. This is so random, right? This is such a random, this is what happened to me today to disrupt my inner peace. So I got sent an email from the school saying that they've got not virtual, they've got an open evening on the 27th or 29th of June, and then a full-on day with the kids where they go to the school on the 2nd of July. So it's coming up very soon. And I never knew any of this. So I wrote back to this admin I said, thank you so much for doing this for the kids, that, you know, it's really going to help them. I was a really nice email. And I said, I wasn't aware of any timings or anything. So could you just let me know if they wear their own uniform or if they wear normal clothes, you know, because I didn't want Ethan to be the only kid not wearing normal clothes if everyone else is. From my past, you know, I've been that kid. I've been that bullied kid. I don't want that for him. So by asking the question, you know, can you help me? And do I take in a lunchbox? Because obviously he's gluten-free and I don't want him to be awkward for lunch. All of these things that I think about, you know.
Just obvious questions, yeah.
Yeah, obvious questions. And like, does he have to bring in, like, what pencils, materials does he bring in? What does he do? Like, I need to know. I got sent back this very standard, quite cold letter from the deputy, whatever it was, saying, you should have received all of this stuff already on your email. Here is a link to what the stuff is. Now, it might be because I'm kind of time of the month, but I might have read it from the wrong perspective. I'm not sure though. But so I'm thinking, but I haven't been sent any of this. So I clicked on their link, read through everything, which took me about an hour because, you know, it's like loads of stuff. And I'd got sent everything. I'd filled in all the forms. Everything was fine. They hadn't mentioned any of my questions. Nothing had been answered in this link, nothing at all. So in this email, this cold email, it said, any further questions need to be directed to the head of the year or whatever it is, right? So at this point, I'm kind of stressed out. And I'm thinking, I'm not stupid. And this email's, because they don't know me. I'm a blank face. I mean, I could be anyone. So they've sent me this standard email that just does not answer any of my questions that are important to me. And I don't feel like I've even been heard. There you go. I don't feel I've even been heard. So that kind of just wound me up because that's my trigger, not being listened to, not being heard, not being in there, you know. And so anyway, my dad phoned up and he said, I saw the email, the response that you got, because I forwarded it to him. And he said, I phoned the school and I've asked about the timings. I said, well, thank you, Dad. I said, but it's not the timings that's the most important. I said, I need to know everything. It's everything. And he goes, I said, do you know what they have to wear? And he goes, well, school uniform. I said, but how do you know that? And he goes, well, it's obvious. I said, but do you know that? And he goes, well, no, I'm assuming. I said, exactly. You don't know. So I don't want Ethan to be that kid that's singled out, that isn't the same as anyone else. If he acts like that, then that's his doings. But I don't want it to be through my not asking. So anyway, we had this argument, me and my dad, or a heated discussion, let's put it that way. And it ended up with my dad just going, whatever, and just sort of hung up. I was like, right. So I wrote another email to the new person that I was meant to write the email to. And I wrote all the questions and I said, I've received all your correspondence. Thank you. But my questions are still not answered. Please, could you answer these questions for me? Because it's coming up shortly. And I have to tell his current school that it's going to have to be off school for that Friday. You know what schools are like. You have to show evidence. So I emailed that through. And I felt still a bit wound up, but I kind of like, well, I've asked now. Now I hope that they answer. But the thing is, I had to change that mood because I wasn't peaceful. But I said it. I felt like I had to say it because it was important to me. So that kind of put that to bed a little bit. That until I hear back, I won't know. But I've sort of like dealt with that. But I had to change my piece. I had to get that back. So I just put on some music. And I changed my focus. I switched my focus up because I spoke to my sister and she said the same thing. It was all relevant. And she said, well, why don't you phone the school? And I said, yeah, I could phone the school, but I want it in writing just so I've got it, you know. I just like things. I've never had a good time at school. I'm not very good with schools. I can't lie. I'm not a school person, but I appreciate what they do. And I appreciate what they've got to cope with, you know what I mean? Because it's a big thing, new schools. Didn't know if it was going to be virtual. I don't know what's going on. I just don't know. But I'm not very good. Well, No, I'm just not. I'm just not very good. And I try and be nice. So that was my finding peace. So I was really glad that we're talking about finding peace, because I started focusing on what I was going to talk about on this talk with you guys. And all of these things that I was like looking into and everything, I felt more peaceful. So I feel a lot better. And just knowing that you two are here, that gives me peace. So that was my day. So that was my finding peace today. Oh gosh. So yeah, that was my moment. So I'm still waiting. I'm still in limbo. But I think it's just really important. I think you're cutting out, Linda. Can you hear me? Linda, you're cutting. You're cutting. You might have to read your. You got a nice face, smiling face though. Are you back?
Yes, I'm back. I think I'm back.
You are.
Did you want to say something, Linda?
Yes, I will. Peace. I think it's very clear that finding peace has to be a two-step plan. I don't think it's a one-step plan. Before you can find peace, I think we have to find acceptance.
That's right.
Because if we're not accepting how things are, or whatever the problem might be, whatever the trigger is, if we're not accepting that, we will hang on to the emotions that triggers, the anger or the whatever it is, or the not being heard of. For me, my big one is being thwarted. Yeah. Thwarted, that's it. That's the one I still cannot cope with. Well, I do cope with it, but I've not got rid of it. I suppose that's what I should say. I've not got rid of that trigger yet. So, an acceptance. We don't want to do it. We don't want to accept, because we're usually believing someone else is wrong, something is wrong, the situation is wrong, the circumstance. Anybody would feel the same way that I do. And of course, that won't take us anywhere. It brings me back as well to what I'm always saying is our determination is very powerful and is also essential. So really, this is a three-step plan. First of all, we have to determine that we want peace, and we will do whatever it takes to get that peace. And then step two is the acceptance. And I've been playing for the last week with a phrase that I think is really rather lovely. And the phrase is letting something be okay. Just letting it be okay. Can I let it be okay? So I'm thwarted. I've got an email. I've had emails this week that didn't answer my question. and then there's another one. And I can't do anything else. There's no phone to ring or anything. There's just this stupid, slow email process.
Oh yeah.
Or sometimes it might be where there is a phone number I can ring, but it's evening. I've discovered it in the evening. That I really struggle with that. Damn, I know exactly what I want to say to them, and so the first thing I've got to do is let that be okay.
Yeah,
I'm not going anywhere near peace, am I? If I'm still firing up about the problem. So we've got to let that problem be all right. Let it exist. Let the feeling that I've got, let that be okay. Yeah, I'm feeling really angry because I'm thwarted. Well, we need to let that be okay as well, just to allow that. And there are techniques, Kate knows all of them. There are techniques that can let those feelings slide right out of you. And then you can accept that it's all been the way it's been. That's where the acceptance comes in, is, yes, I've had all of that, but that's now behind me. And then we can find some peace. And then we can start doing because otherwise I think you're trying to do too hard a job. Then we can start doing a little bit of deep breathing, and we can sit quietly or put some music on or do those soothing things.
Yeah.
But I feel it's too soon to just, or it's too hard a job to just try and do that right from the outset. So that's my advice, is the 3-step plan.
See, now I totally agree with you. And the thing is, if it was about me, I don't care for myself. I can cope with anything. It's because it was for Ethan. And there's obviously my background that I'm bringing into the present. And it's not from a place of pain, because I've dealt with the painful issues. The being heard issues are obviously still very much there for me. They must be, because that is a trigger for me. When I'm not feeling not on my usual flow, let's put it that way. But because it's for Ethan, it's almost like a protection. It's like I'm going from experience and not wanting to deal with what he went through. Oh, Linda, you've frozen again. I'm going from experience and not from a personal perspective. It's more so that I'm prepared.
Yes.
And prepared so that he'll have a smooth transition. That's really what it is. Through no fault of my own will be the issue.
It is, but that doesn't change anything. That is just your reasoning.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change anything.
No, it doesn't change anything.
You still have to let it go, let it be okay.
Yeah.
Because we're not at the 2nd of July yet. So it's not a case of, oh my God, it's the 1st of July and they're not writing back to me. It's not even so bad, is it?
I hate being not prepared. That's the thing, not prepared.
Yes.
It's important. I mean, to me, I find it important to be prepared. Not that you can prepare for anything really in life, but
I wonder if it would be, I don't know if this is off topic or not, but other mothers will have this same protectiveness, won't they? I wonder, I believe that Lucinda would see this as an opportunity to give Josh resources so that he would be okay. Regardless. So that she would give him lunch. She would always give him lunch because he's gluten-free. But that's a given, isn't it? So you send that. You don't need permission.
Anyway, yeah.
You just send that anyway. The clothing and so on. Yes, I have a feeling that Lucinda would see that as an opportunity. If she's worried about how he will cope, is that an opportunity to talk with him about it and give him whatever resources he needs to be confident no matter what he's wearing. Now, that would not be a quick thing, but you could build towards that between now and the 2nd of July. You could build towards that. You don't have to talk exactly about the clothing, do you? You can just talk around that topic of what people think of you and how does it matter.
You see, the thing is, right, as well, so I'm going to come to you, Kate, in a minute, but that's just brought up. You see, I think a lot of it as well, when I went to school, when I first went to my secondary school, first year, it must have been the first week, we had a cookery class. Now, I didn't realise that I had to bring in my groceries, this salad stuff, in a little basket. I had to bring them into school. I thought that it was supplied. Stupid me. I've never done cookery before. I thought that they were supplying the vegetables and that we were going to make a salad. Well, everyone came into school with their baskets, their little straw baskets, everyone in the class with all their groceries. And me walks into school, going to cookery, but I had no ingredients. And I had nothing. And bless my friends at the time, they gave me ingredients out of their basket, so I made salad. But it's that feeling, isn't it? It's that feeling of being the one on your own. And yes, it is kind, but it's there.
Yes, but that's you, Danielle.
Yeah, that is me.
Yeah, it's what you want for him rather
Ethan
than
isn't you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
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 And we all know, don't we? It's like, I know Linda said this many times, it's like, if the child is stressed, then work with the mother.
Yeah.
Because if
Yes.
the mother will pass on,
because the mother will be feeding into it.
Yeah. So it's like, how are you projecting onto him now all your past?
To be fair, he doesn't know this conversation. He doesn't know this.
Not, but not consciously. No, you're not consciously saying anything, but subconsciously you're still passing that on.
Do you know what it is?
That anxiety.
It's the fact that it's the communication. It was the not being heard on the email. The questions, the relevant questions weren't being answered. Yeah. So that really was the trigger for me. But I mean, he would never know about this. And yes, I would explain how.
My point is that there are things there. You've got the feeling of not being heard, and you've also got the one about not being prepared. So you don't want to look stupid in front of your friends and risk being bullied or judged or something. So there's two different things there that are kind of like driving your behavior. Yeah. And subconsciously you will be passing that on to him, not consciously. And so it's like we say, that's why we like to work with, you know, the greater family unit, if you can, because that makes a big difference to kids, because they're learning it from somebody, you know.
You know what? That's the weird thing, because it's so personal. I find it sometimes it's a challenge to work on things that are so personal, because it's the perspective thing, isn't it? You can look through different eyes. How would this person deal with it? How would be another angle to view it from? So it would just kind of change. And for the other people, you're that third person, aren't you? You are the person saying, well, what if this happened? What would happen if this was to happen? But when it's kind of like a situation that means a lot to me, I find that challenging, because especially
we all have them, don't we?
Yeah,
we all do. We've all got our own triggers. Like Linda, you're saying it's being thwarted. Danielle, you've just mentioned yours, and like for mine, it's like being controlled. That's my big one. You know, because I have to be in control of things. Otherwise, I feel unsafe. My body is unsafe if I'm not in control of things. And so that was my way of coping when I was young. Control everything around me, including myself and my emotions, and shut them down to appear in control all the time. And so that was my way of dealing with things. And so that becomes a habit. And it's like, and we've all said, these are these default states that kind of we slip into.
Yes.
And even with all the sort of inner work that we've all done with ourselves, I'm not sure that's ever going to ever completely leave me, you know, that I don't think it will. No, maybe that's a limiting belief that I have to work on, but basically I think that's my way of coping, and my body has that natural way of just clicking into that. So that's but I think when you know it, then you can start controlling it. So I think my first step is always awareness, just knowing it. And sometimes being aware of it is enough to get that millisecond of control before your mind or your body just takes over and turns into a stress response, and you lose that feeling of peace. Yeah. And so awareness sometimes can be all you need for everything to change, because you suddenly get a new perspective. It's like, it is that stepping out, seeing, oh, I do that. I always have to be in control. Okay. Interesting. Now, am I controlling in this situation? Am I just trying to control everything? And we talk about peace. Well, the opposite of peace is war. So what are the battles I really want to fight today?
Oh, nice.
You know, so what is you choose your battles. And I remember a boss saying that to me once. Choose your battles, Kate. You can't fight all of these things. You can't make everything and control everything. You're going to have to pick, because you're going to run out of energy. And sure enough, I sort of burned out at the end of my 20s, because I was trying to do everything too well, too perfectly, and I just couldn't. And so that's what happens. Your body says, enough, stop now. I'm going to stop you. You can't do this for yourself. And so it's getting that awareness in place. And like for you, beautifully, you had that awareness, didn't you? You said, okay, I know I'm in this situation. I'm not going to fire off an email that's going to be, derogatory or anything. I'm just going to send a calm email, and I'm going to put some music on, and I'm going to calm myself down. And you came back to that place of peace. And just even focusing on the word peace today helped you with that, just in preparation for this talk. So it's about being aware. And I think as soon as you get that awareness, even if after that everything just sort of slips into this cascade of craziness, then the more awareness you build, the quicker you get that control over your response. So it is about awareness, and there are ways that you can build that awareness, and part of that is working on strengthening this prefrontal cortex that we talked about before, this front part of our brain, which is the control center. That's the part that gives us that control over the crazy emotions that are going on in the sort of amygdala part of our brain. So the more we can build that awareness, and one way of doing that is meditation. And what's meditation? It's just focusing on something. And you might just be focusing on your thoughts. It's not trying to get rid of thoughts. It's just focusing on something. Some people like to light a candle and just focus on that. Some people like to repeat a word in their mind over and over and focus on that. Other people might just like to go for a beautiful walk in the countryside and focus on their senses. What's happening? What do I see? What do I hear? What do I feel on my body? You know, all those the senses rather than the inner emotional feelings that we get. And so building that, the more we do that, and they do say even just 10 minutes a day really strengthens the prefrontal cortex, not just by giving that focus, but also it actually makes it bigger, it's stronger, and it actually shrinks the amygdala, which is the part of the fear response in our brain. So it has a beneficial effect both ways. And so finding whatever that is for you, and for you might be turn on some music, and that's my meditation. I'm just going to focus on that music and you kind of get into your body more when you listen to music. I do anyway. For me, it's a great way to kind of calm, because I'm moving my body, so I'm in my body, and I'm not in my thoughts. My thoughts are still happening, but I'm focusing on a different part. And so it is just a focus, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So building that awareness by practicing focusing is a really, really cool way to do it. And it's finding what works for you. Some people say, I can't sit and meditate. You don't have to. You can just walk about, or you can have a bath. That's a meditation. Just being in your body anywhere. Stretching, exercise. Some people like to run, and that's their meditation. Whatever it is, but it is just that focusing on something, usually that's bodily rather than up here.
It's true, because when I put my music on, when I was in that kind of frustration state, I put the music on, and by going into that focus and by being out of the picture, then you are that third person again. So you can look at the situation in clarity, because you're not there anymore, you're there. So it really is powerful.
That's true, because you are not your feelings, and you are not your thoughts. And the more you practice that perspective, and that's where just a sitting meditation is quite nice in a way, because you are just getting into watching your thoughts. It's crazy when you do it at first. It's like, okay, so if I'm watching my thoughts, who am I then? If I'm not my thoughts, who's the watcher? And then the more you do that, you realize that these are just happenings that your brain or your mind creates, and you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings. Your feelings are what happens from the thoughts. The thoughts trigger the feelings normally. So they're just a cascade. And if you're not your thoughts and you're not your feelings, then who are you? And then we have this whole mind expanding thing, don't we, where we go out and say, well, okay, who am I then? And when you start focusing on that part of you, that's the part that is always at peace.
Yes.
That's the part that's always full of joy and energy. And it's like I was going to say at the start, my definition of peace is like a calm aliveness. It's not quiet. It's not quiet. It's not necessarily even calm. It's just that, as Linda was saying, being okay. It's that feeling of okay. It doesn't matter what's happening. It's that just general okayness. Even when I'm really uncomfortable, even if I'm in a lot of pain, I could still be in this place, because it's not that it's not pain, it's somewhere else that is just constantly warm and calm, energized, it's full of energy, and yet it's it's a deep, intense peace at the same time. And I guess that's when people are talking about enlightenment and stuff, they're going to that place.
Yeah.
And I find that when I'm working with somebody, as soon as I can get them to that place and see that for themselves, that they've already got all of that inside of them and it's always been there, and they just didn't maybe notice it. As you say, being that authentic you, that's that place. That's the place that knows, it's the deep wisdom. You know, when you act from that place, that everything's right because you're listening to yourself, which is the true part of you.
And so what isn't yourself? As you, Danielle, have kept going back to and explaining again what your problem was, that's your story. That's the story. And it isn't you. It is only a story. It is your story, and it was important to you. And it seems to still be important to you right now. But I think that's the way you could start letting that go. It's just remember that it's just the story.
Yeah.
It's the story you have told yourself. I'm not saying you're not right about it. I'm not, I'm not blaming you or anything. But it is just the story. It's if I were working with you, and you and we were going to do some any kind of work, any work with you, I would not want to know all that story. We wouldn't be working on that story. We would be working on how it's been set up for you, wouldn't we?
Of course.
Submodalities, timeline, and so on.
Yeah.
We'd be working on the settings of it. And I always work content free because I found that it attracts the conscious mind. If we start talking about the story, so then my auntie came in and then my mother said this and then whatever happened, then the conscious mind is back in charge again, and we don't want that. For
it's focusing. See, the things that happened to me, I can feel how I felt at that time, but I'm also very I notice all the blessings that came from that situation as well. When you zoom out and you look at that picture, the kindness that was there, the support that was there. At the time, that younger me did not feel those things. But now looking back at the situation, I mean, I was grateful for everyone that helped me at that point. But now looking back, you can see all from the perspective of kindness and gratitude. And so
isn't the truth of it that it was okay?
Oh, it was.
It was okay.
It was
even though you were unprepared and you wouldn't have chosen for that to happen, but it was okay. Well, it's like me.
It was okay.
And the drowning, wasn't it? Where I nearly died.
Yeah.
Did I? I don't think I did. You die or you don't, and you were unable to do the cookery class, or you were, and you were able to.
I felt stupid, and I think I felt stupid.
Yes, because at that time, that is what you would feel.
And I didn't want Ethan, because it's from my own experience, it's bringing it into a current situation, and I don't want him to feel stupid. I think that's what it felt.
But he's not you.
He's not me.
And he's not been through that.
And the thing is, if it happened to me now, I could laugh it off, and I have all my learnings.
So share that with him. Share the ability to laugh things off with him.
Yeah, okay. Because kids are very open-minded. They can pick up on things.
They're resilient. You were resilient, even though it was horrible at the time.
Yeah.
It's all right now. It's all right now, isn't it?
It's all right now. I'm still alive.
Do you know the one learning that I hear the most when we do timeline? Often they're learnings I've no idea about at all. And say, oh yeah, that's a great learning. But there is one that keeps being repeated, and that is, well, it was all right.
Yeah.
It was all okay. Nothing.
Yeah,
I am now. I'm okay.
Yeah, it's when you turn it to I is when it gets really powerful. It was okay. I was okay, I am okay. And it's that's the deep one, isn't it? When they get to I'm okay, it's just so powerful. I had one client that was pretty much all she needed, just to realize that it wasn't comfortable, but I'm okay. And wow, what an amazing learning. Just, it doesn't sound like much, does it? But to really deeply feel that for your body, to actually accept that and notice it and say, I'm okay, there's nothing wrong with me. And it's like, that's one of the biggest thing I always say for in my sort of, when I'm talking about what I do, is like, you're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you.
No.
And it's easy to say that, and it's easy to say, yeah, I know, but consciously, but subconsciously, does deep down, do you really accept the fact that you're okay, even when you're doing something really stupid or bad, or people are judging you, to really know deep down, I'm okay. You know, it's all that whole, I'm okay, I'm enough, I'm worthy, I deserve love, I deserve to be heard.
That's right.
That actually is a difference between knowing it consciously and deeply knowing it. And when that's what we're doing. We're working with that deep, more subconscious part of us that needs to learn that. And then when you learn that, suddenly you're not triggered. Like
no, that's right.
You just can't be, because deep down, you know, there's not that little child that is scared because, you know, they didn't bring the ingredients to school, you know, that day. And looked a bit stupid or felt, you know, that people were judging them or whatever it might be, you know. And like I can think of lots of examples for me, the same thing, where I went for a swimming medal, you know. I can't remember which one it was now. I turned at the swimming pool, and you had to bring pajamas with you. So you had to do a length in wearing pajamas. And so I I didn't have pajamas. I only had 90s. So I had to borrow my dad's pajamas.
Oh, darling.
And I put them on. And of course I did like about 3 or 4 strokes, and the bottoms came off because they were so big on me.
Yeah.
And the PE teacher wouldn't let me redo it. She said, you can't do it. It's not going to work. You can't do it. So you can't have the medal. You can't get your badge, silver, bronze badge, whatever it was for swimming. And I was absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
And I felt stupid. And of course, and you know, didn't have the right side. And that even now, because the fact that's still in my head, as something comes in, it's still there, and I've not released that, whatever that was, and I'm still not sure exactly what it was underneath. But these things all pop in, and it's a nothing thing.
I know.
But I blamed my parents for that. You made me look stupid. You gave me these great massive pajamas, and I was only like, I don't know, 11 or something.
That's the thing. I think that's the problem. I think it's like the teacher's role, that they shouldn't make people feel stupid and should be supportive. I think that's a really good teacher would do that, and that's someone that you could
maybe borrow someone else's, or let me do it again, but tie them on better.
Yes. You see, you'd feel empowered. And then when you looked back at that, it's like in the class, you know, I felt stupid because I was made to feel stupid by the teacher, you know. But if I'd have felt empowered at that situation by the teacher, I was empowered by my friends at the time, new people I hardly even knew, but they empowered me and they gave me the support. But the teacher made me feel stupid, and that allowed...
Yeah, but that's a big if, isn't it? Because you've got to go through this sort of crap.
I want to feel...
You have to. You can't.
Otherwise, if you're mollycoddled all your life, and yes, you're fine and empowered and everything else, then when something really challenging comes along, you're going to fall apart. So
you are. You absolutely. You and you cannot be waiting for that rescuer.
No,
not even now. We can't be waiting for a rescuer, and not even then.
That's very good. Handled better, like you said. I'm sure it could have been handled better, and I hope teachers now are a little bit more. Well, I mean, I'm talking about like 40 years ago. I hope they're a bit better now. I mean, I've got my niece is a teacher, both two nieces are teachers, so I'm sure they're far more loving and caring and everything else now.
Not all of them.
Well, no, not at all.
No, I'm sure they're
all
not.
Of them, no.
My parents were both teachers, so I mean, I was brought up by teachers, and their way of teaching was begotten by the way they were taught, and that was like a long time ago. So I get it. I absolutely do. And
that situation there is the perfect opportunity for a teacher to teach skills of, it's okay, you're going to be okay. Yes, this situation has happened, but look at everyone around you. Look what the support you've. That's the kind of teaching that makes you blossom and grow and not make you retreat into yourself. And I think that there is perspective. And yes, you go through things in life always, but if you're empowered in those situations, in who you are as a person, you don't experience those situations so fully. You know, you don't get, because everything's yin and yang. It's like there's a blessing with every curse, isn't there? Like what someone's meat is another man's poison. It's literally, you know, you could be going through the worst thing in their life, but from a perspective, if you're growing up with that empowerment, that self-worth, that self-strength, that support, that system, that inside who you are, if you are that person, then you're going to face that challenge from a different perspective than someone that isn't at that level. And that's what I mean. I think it's all to do with how.
Yes, but we cannot rely on it.
No, we can't.
There are people, so we have to be, what we need to be talking about here is when that hasn't happened.
That's right.
We can't rely on it.
No, we can't, but we should be able to.
And some people would have had dreadful. I know someone who was tortured, who her and her siblings were tortured by their parents. Really serious, bonkers parents. So there are people that and she isn't the only one, is she? She's not going to be the only one. So there are people that went far from whether the teacher was a bit snippy or not, who are carrying much heavier burden.
Oh God! Do you know, when we went to Bulgaria and I did that orphanage with Ethan, like I took him there because I've always tried to we've always been as one. And we went to the Bulgarian orphanage. There was kids there that had been burnt alive by their parents and watched the parents shoot each other, like serious stuff. But these little kids, that doesn't it defines them to an extent because they saw this and witnessed this, but to be able to build someone up so that they've got that self-worth and that they aren't that. They witnessed something that was horrific and they were in that horrific situation, but that isn't who they are. They're resilient. They got through that and look what could come from it. What good can be born from a situation of peril, basically. What perspective can it be viewed upon? So I know exactly what you mean. And there is, I mean, people go through living hell in relationships, in life, in kids, you know, everything that they do. But, you know, when you're a kid, sometimes you can't choose. Like, you can't choose your parents. You can't
choose anything when you're a kid. Let's face it, you have no choice. So you're totally out of control. So all you then do is, like I did, I tried to control myself, and that was my control. And then you kind of lose trust in other people, and then you're not at peace ever. You can't trust anyone, and you don't even trust yourself really. But you're trying to control everything, and so there is this whole thing of building this inner trust.
Yeah.
And knowing it's not about having every life perfect and rainbows and unicorns. It's about, I can cope no matter what. I will cope, you know, and that's building that sense of trust in whatever emotion, whatever feeling I'm going to get. I know I'll get through it. And once you've got that, then you can set the world alight, because it will then just be at peace. If you just want to have peace, then that's how you do it. It's building that inner trust. I'm enough. I'm okay, even when I'm not okay. So it's learning to deal with uncomfortable feelings, you know, because all confidence is knowing this is going to be scary, but I'll get through it.
Yeah,
that's all confidence is. Because people who are very confident it's not they don't feel fear. It's just they're not scared of fear, and it's fear of fear is the problem. So being okay with being not okay. Or as Brené Brown talks about vulnerability, it's like being okay with being vulnerable. That's where you get peace of mind, knowing that I'll go out there and whatever the world throws at me, I will cope anyway. And it's not just about building those inner resources, but it's also about building a supportive network around you, people that really just accept you as you are, no matter, you haven't got to put on anything, any mask or anything. You can just be yourself, and they'll be there if you need them. It's building that too, and that's a skill too, because a lot of us are trying to sort of please people, and then you've got people around you that you don't necessarily feel good around, and yet we kind of still do that. And maybe you're stuck with them. If it's your family, then you're kind of stuck if you're young. But again, it's like distancing yourself from those sort of influences that don't bring peace, because and it's not just people, it's your surroundings, your environment. Where you spend a lot of your time, does your body feel safe there? Does it feel at peace? Like in my office, I put little things around me that ground me, that give me peace, because I need that feeling while I'm here. And like, if you spend a lot of time in your car, is it like full of trash and stuff? Or if you just cleaned it out, just amazing, isn't it? How much at peace you feel. So, and if your body's at peace, then so is your mind. So little things like just like last weekend, my husband and I, we thought, look at the state of the house, because we haven't had any visitors because of COVID. We haven't really done a really sort of really good clean. And we thought, we just need to clean, don't we? So we spent the whole day and we cleaned top to bottom, everything. I mean, even toothbrush around the shower, everything, cleaning everything. And so it's all sparkling. It was like, we haven't had the excuse to do it. So we actually cleaned the house and no one was coming, which is quite unusual for us. And so we thought, wow, how much better we feel now. Everything, I mean, sort of, the old curtains that we have over the door for winter, took them down, getting them washed and stuff. It was just like, and that. So it's clutter, not just inside, but it's also just being aware of how peaceful do I feel in this place.
That's right.
You do little things. There's usually just tiny little things that just bring you a bit of peace, and that
brings you joy, brings you calm, and self-care. Just taking care of yourself can bring you peace, because sometimes I think that people focus so much on everybody else and everything else around us that we forget about the most important person, which is you. And self-care brings peace because you're being kind to yourself. You're worth it. And I think that's so important to remember and to forgive. Forgiveness brings peace. Forgiveness of yourself. Forgiveness.
There's like a trick to forgiveness, is that you don't forgive until you've blamed. There's like a lot of studies around this, that if you try and forgive somebody before you've let go of the hurt that they caused.
Oh yes.
Then you start, you forgive them, and maybe you'll do this sort of in a conscious way, but deep down you can't. And so then you start beating yourself up, because why I should be able to forgive this person, and I can't, I'm not feeling it. And then you actually create more unease inside of you, because you're now saying I should be able to forgive and I can't, because you haven't done that step before, which is release the hurt and kind of let the blame. You don't have to do it to the person.
No, it's more forgiving yourself though for anything that you've been through.
Well, it's also you can, if at best you can absolutely, you need to forgive yourself for any part you're blaming yourself for, especially like I work with children that are being abused and stuff like that. It's like there's a lot of self-blame in there, because you have to blame you, because it can't be, if it's the parent that's wrong, that makes it you're totally unsafe.
That's too scary.
You can't do that, so you have to blame yourself. So there's all of that, but you have to allow the blame to go in the right way, the right direction. So it's not just about stopping blaming you. You have to actually start blaming them, and in a healthy way. And there are ways to do this in a very healthy way. But so I'd say forgiveness is actually very. There is a process to go through, like most things.
Yeah, of course. Timeline. We need a bit of timeline in it.
Well, there's a lot to it, and there are, like as Linda was saying, there are these steps that work. So it's worth following them. And there's some great books on this as well that you can read and stuff. So
and anyone that's watching this, if you are experiencing like frustration or if you're not at peace, opposite war, as you said, if you're battling with something if you're battling something inside, just know that there are ways that you can be helped and guided through the process to be able to be at peace. Because sometimes when we're at that battle stage, all the reds are up, all the triggers are up, the barriers are up, and that protection is there. And just know that you can lower those barriers, because not everything is a battle, and mostly it is an internal battle that you just need to kind of get guided through. So I'm going to list everybody's names and their contacts in the comments. And if you're listening on Apple, or not Apple Podcast, if you're listening on a podcast, then just look at the notes as well. I'm going to put everything in the notes section of the contacts. But we are here, and there are so many amazing, incredible people out there that can help you. You're not trapped and you're not stuck, and everybody, even the most experienced gurus, everybody has things and challenges that they go through, and triggers that that it's a conscious effort to take note of, so when you don't get triggered again. So it's normal. We are flipping human, and that's a gift. It's a gift. So we are parts that make up the whole, and so together we are who we are. So all those different parts can be put at rest and eased, can't they? Kate,
like you were saying about perspective, is sometimes it's helpful to have someone else's to help you to just get more perspective on yourself. I don't know about you, but I find it really hard. I can look in a mirror and see myself, and I don't really properly see, because I've got all these thoughts and that are coming with it. But if I take a photograph of myself and look at it, I can see myself from a different point of view. It's more third person then. So, and it's a little bit like that, taking a photograph and looking at yourself. And that's kind of what we do, isn't it? We help people do that and see new ways of seeing something that happened 40 years ago, whatever it was. And then once you get that kind of tiny little change in thinking about it, then everything changes.
That's right.
And so it is that perspective, because what brings you peace is not what brings me peace, and what triggers you is not what triggers me. And so you can look at a situation and say, well, would everybody have the same response as me in the world? Because if not, I'm somehow creating that response. There's something inside of me that's doing that, and it's not me. It's this part of me, this monkey brain, or whatever you want to call it, it's just taking it and running with this ball, because that's what we did 40 years ago. And so we'll just keep doing that, shall we? Instead of take a step back and actually say, well,
oh, girls, I'll tell you what, I feel a lot calmer. I feel very peaceful. I just feel like okay. That's it. I'm okay with everything. And and it is stepping out of that situation, taking yourself out of that negative vibration, and stepping into, stepping out and just seeing it from a different perspective. So, thank you.
And knowing, it's also knowing that if it isn't okay yet, it will be okay.
Nice.
It will not be not okay to your dying breath, will it? So there will be a point where it will be okay.
Okay. Perfectly ended there, Linda. So everyone, make sure you follow our podcast. We've got vulnerability coming out later, actually just now, 12 o'clock it is out. So you go to realtherapypodcast.com/follow and listen to us discuss vulnerability, and listen to our other episodes. We've done some really good ones, and I hope that it helps, and we love doing them. So it really helped me today. So I'm wishing everybody the beautifulest weekend, full of happiness and perspective. Banish the shadows. It's all okay. It will be okay. And have a lovely weekend. And I'm going to sign off from the live right now. I think it's signed off. Yay. Stop recording. That was brilliant.